Okay, so I want to talk about both team comps here real quick. So on the blue team, we have a very dive-oriented comp. I expect to see Shyvana diving into the backline, Lulu ulting her, and they're just going to put out a massive amount of damage between Shyvana, Riven, and Kassadin. They're going to kind of distract the enemy team, focus their DPS on those targets, while Caitlyn is in the back safe and able to constantly attack the enemy team.
Absolutely, but they don't really have a very tanky composition. Shinto certainly can be a bruiser, can be a bully, but the moment Shinto goes down, you have Lulu with only Wild Overgrowth, an assassin, a melee fighter, and an AD carry. There's not that much health on their team. Right,
well what they do have a lot of is mobility. Not only that, they have a lot of damage, and you don't always, we've seen in the Korean scene before, where you don't always have to have the tankiest team comp. If you have a lot of damage, you can roll over the enemy team in just numbers alone. On the flip side, we see Jinx, Annie, LeBlanc, Jarvan, and Rengar. Rengar is a very interesting pick. As a Rengar player, I don't think he's very good on this patch. I think he's been gutted. I think he's been nerfed really, really hard. He's unable to do the triple Q, making Assassin Rengar just not a very viable option unless you're miles ahead. And they nerfed the heal on his W, which makes Tank Rengar not quite as good as it was before.
Absolutely, it doesn't quite have as much sustain, but again, this is going to be a Rengar versus Riven in the top lane. Now, normally I would be inclined to go with Riven, however, I have seen Kilroy's Rengar, and he is very confident on the champion, so I'm sure that he's not going to have too much trouble. But let's talk a bit about the team composition for Salsa Squad. They're not very tanky themselves.
I agree, and I'm trying very hard to find the synergy between the champions, and it doesn't seem like there's very much. It seems like they kind of just went with okay, we're 0-1 as far as we're playing for third place, we're 0-1, let's pick our best champions, as opposed to trying to pick a team comp. So they're probably going to look to try to win their lanes. And we see Noni actually going in on the Kilroy at level 1. I'm not sure if you read the patch notes, but you can't really do that with Riven anymore. He did almost no damage.
Ethlon taking a bit of trade now. Whoa, a huge build over Peacemaker, keeping him while walking, wanting to try to get the kill, actually flashing forward, takes an Ignite to the face for his efforts, but doesn't manage to get the Ignite onto Ethlon. So Ethlon walks away by the skin of his teeth. And yeah, real quick, I'd just like to do a quick shout out to UCSD's DVC. Thanks for spinning some really sick tracks. If anyone's interested, be sure to check them out up front. They're really putting on some great music for us.
So, something I want to point out, well, go ahead, cast.
Ian Please is now caught taking a healthy amount, forced to use the barrier at the last second. Great reaction there, but now that barrier is low and Flashing Knight have been burned out of Ethelon, dual impulse is going to be feeling really good, but a double gank going on in the top lane. Shinto moving on to Corbin and Kilroy. Kilroy one away from his full Fury empowered abilities, but it doesn't seem like he wants to engage. Corbin, though, coming out a little bit worse for wear than Shinto that time.
Yeah, something I actually want to point out in the bottom lane is that Annie did not start with a Doran shield. Something that is common amongst supports in the current meta is to start with a Doran shield, especially against a lane like Caitlyn Lulu, who's going to be auto-attacking a lot. She opted for the Doran's ring, tried to do something at level 1, and got severely punished for it. So we're going to have to see if... what team is this?
Salsa Squad versus
Salsa Squad. If Salsa Squad's bot lane is going to be able to reestablish some lane dominance.
Whoa, looks like Noni getting a bit far forward. Kilroy takes an Ignite to the face, so now Noni's just has to be careful, but there is still Ignite on Kilroy. I don't know if Noni has a timer on that or not. We'll have to be careful. Going to be relying on that Dorian shield regeneration.
I think that Noni actually panicked there. Kilroy had used all of his abilities already. He could have.
Whoa, here's Corbin coming in for a gank. Noni trying to Valor away and immediately getting a nice knock-up onto Corbin, but he is caught in the red buff slow, and especially now that Kilroy landed his own slow, that's going to be first blood going to Corbin Monoxide.
Yeah, so Noni panicked. He flashed when he could have actually turned and killed Rengar. Because Rengar had already burned all of his abilities. That's something that does happen when you're taking damage. A lot of I want to say inexperienced players will flash when their health gets low in fear of dying. They won't actually realize that they might be able to turn the situation on its head You know, just simple paying attention to cooldowns, really. Something I like to do at the start of each game is I like to go on the internet. I find my lane opponent, and I look them up on the League Wiki, and I look at all their
King,
cool. No. I look at their champion, and I look at all the champions' cooldowns. And I play counting that down in my head whenever they use that ability, so I know I have this window to trade.
Whoa, Hawking getting taken low by Athlon, and Ian Please gets caught in the snap trap, but wow, the stuns keep coming out. Hawking is so low, he goes down. Ian Please picking up a kill in the bottom lane. Now Athlon turning on the dual impulse, landing a good stun zap, walking dual impulse down. Does have flash and barrier, but is just going to walk away and get back to farming in lane.
Yeah, you know, that was a bit of a misplay by blocking there, and that is what Salsa Squad needs to get back. Salsa Squad's bot lane needs to get back in this lane. You cannot go up to an Annie like that because you will get stunned. She did opt for that extra ability power, so now that she does have some levels under her belt, she is going to actually do a lot more damage.
And that's definitely something we're going to have to watch. Kilroy trading a bit with Noni in the top lane. That's a Giants build out of Kilroy. Usually that's indicative of a more tank Rengar style instead of the common assassin Rengar. Noni
Definitely.
Building towards that brutalizer right away with 2 double longswords. That's really going to help out. And whoa, gank going on in the mid lane. JMO not level 6, doesn't have Riftwalk. Lanfear managing to have good auto attack, doesn't get the distortion to escape, but wow, in the action continues. Dual impulse engaging in the bottom lane. Shinto looking like he wants to try to go for a play onto Lanfear, gets knocked up by Corbin, keeping Lanfear alive. Great save from Corbin.
I think what just happened in the bottom lane is something that I've seen happen a lot, is where, you know, people get the kill, they push up and they don't back. You want to back. Even though it was just the support that they killed, she is going to come back into lane with new items, and you're not exactly healthy. You will lose the trade. You should try to push up and back, spend that gold that you got to, you know, try to capitalize on your advantage a bit more. Unfortunately, it looks like Salsa Squad was a bit greedy in that bot lane, and it did cost them.
Absolutely, and it's currently 3-1 in Salsa Squad's favor. A bit more trading in the top lane. That's Noni using the Blade of the Exile to try to bring down Kilroy, but isn't going to get the kill as Kilroy immediately flashes away.
You know, what just happened at top is pretty indicative to me that Rengar did not time Riven's Ignite. Something that you should always do is when your opponent uses a summer spell, write down the time immediately. Ignite is on a 3-minute cooldown. If he had written that down, he wouldn't have had to waste his flash there. He actually could have turned that on his head. Unfortunately, you know, this just comes down to knowing cooldowns.
Not quite working out that way. We're seeing both of the junglers opt for a Kindle Gem, going for Spirit of the Ancient Golem. Now that seems to be the most common build on junglers, especially when the junglers have to fill the tank role for their team.
Right. Also, something I want to point out is that Shyvana has a 17 CS hold lead on Jarvan. Although Jarvan did get First Blood, he has been ganking. Shyvana is out farming him heavily and is pretty even in gold with him. You know, Shyvana, not the greatest ganker. He is playing this right. Shyvana does not pressure early game. She should focus on pressuring mid game. So he's going to be content to actually just farm. And as long as objectives are not going down, as long as Salsa Squad is not taking objectives, they're playing into Shyvana's game right now.
Definitely something that Shinto is going to want. We've talked a bit about all the lanes so far, except for mid lane. Jamie and Cassidy versus Lanfear on LeBlanc. So far, it looks like it's going, whoa, some action in the top lane. Noni pushed the Valor away from another gank from Corbin Monoxide, and Cataclysm also available. Noni certainly waiting to save that last Broken Wings, gets caught in the Cataclysm. He's not going to make it out of this one. No, last second Valor to make it over the wall, but gets picked up by Corbin.
A bit of miscommunication there by Salsa Squad. They could have given that kill to Kilroy. Jarvan does pick up that kill, which isn't the worst thing in the world, seeing as how he will.
But again, in this mid lane, Lanfear is dominating so much. He's about a solid 30 CS ahead, getting dangerously close. Whoa, Flash Tibber is actually missing walking. Now Impulse way out of position, throws a good Wild Overgrowth on the dual Impulse to soak some damage, but that's not the target as walking. And backs up to the turret, dodges a Super Mega Death Rocket, but goes down to Ethelon. Meanwhile, Ian Please now turning onto dual Impulse. Tibbers tanking a few turret hits, but it doesn't look like this is going to be a dive, as dual impulses, 90 calibers, another stun.
You know, Lulu should have really Lulu was only thinking about the health aspect of her ultimate right there. I don't think she had in mind the knockback part of her ultimate. If she had used it on herself, she would have knocked Danny away. They could have escaped. Unfortunately, Lulu does die trying to protect her ADK, who didn't actually need to, a bit of a misplay, I would say, by FTR.
Yeah, and we're starting to see Salsa Squad slowly get further and further ahead. It's about 10 minutes, 5 kills to 1, and 2,000 gold lead in favor of Salsa Squad. So they're slowly starting to snowball the game in their favor. And while the trading continues in the top lane, as Noni finished with the Brutalizer, going to try to force Kilroy back, but Kilroy will have none of that. But as I was saying, let's talk a little bit about the gold difference between these two teams. Salsa Squad is starting to become just that much more aggressive, and whoa, Noni possibly trying to get a kill. Val is out of a turret hit, but now that On the Hunt is active, Kilroy is going to wait for Blade of the Exile to fall off and almost certainly go in, and never mind. He just decides to heal up instead.
You can see the Rengar nerfs coming in there, you know. Even though the heal does scale with...
Lanfear jumping forward onto JMO. There is the hallucination, and whoa, Lanfear, a good juke, turns around, but Riftwalk allows JMO to pick up the kill. Finally close one in on the block.
Very well played by JMO. As I was saying earlier, you see the nerfs coming into Rengar, the Rengar nerfs coming into play there, where Rengar, the heal does get amplified by how low your HP is, but he didn't nearly heal for as much as he would have on the previous patch, despite the fact that he was getting 100% of the amplification from the low HP W.
Yeah, the full Fury.
I believe the bonus, the highest you could go is if you're below 70%. The damage
Battle Roar
is amplified by up to 100%.
And it looks like we're seeing Salsa Squad now capitalize on that missing JMO, immediately shoving up in the mid lane, taking a second turret from themselves and increasing the gold lead to, well, never mind, it's now 1,500 as Lanfear jumps on a dual impulse, doesn't manage to land the ethereal change snare. The bot turret is missing, and there's a 3-man rotation, as it looks like Salsa want to try to make a play for Dragon. They will be spotted by all of the members of FTR. Will they be able to take it, or are they going to back off instead?
This is a bit dangerous. I think they should back off. Kassadin, you know, he's very good at Dragon fights. He's a very mobile champion, can get around, and when you have the Dragon on you, you know, Kassadin doesn't have a lot of early game damage, but when, you know, you have an extra target attacking you, he can really take advantage of that, capitalize, get some extra kills.
Whoa, Shinto getting jumped on by Lanfear. He's got to be careful. Burnout going down. Shinto is getting low. Doesn't have Dragon's Ascent, so he's got to absorb that Cataclysm. Gets stopped by a Super Mega Death Rocket. He's solo. He finally falls. Now this is Noni turning around with the Blade of the Exile, trying to see if he can bring someone down, but doesn't have the damage he quite needs. As Salsa Squad getting a good pick with that Cataclysm.
Right, you know, that was just very bad positioning on Shinto's part. I'm not quite sure what he was trying to do there. He was forced to flash because of a well-placed Jinx Flame Chompers, and he really kind of just baited himself into death there.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a little bit far forward, and he did not have either Flash nor Dragon's Descent, so he had to get out of that.
Definitely jumping the gun on that one.
Absolutely. The damage is certainly there for Salsa Squad, as we can see. Completed Athene's Unholy Grail, the main components for a Bloodthirster, and 3 Doran rings on Annie.
Right, and this is what I was talking about. Salsa Squad doesn't have necessarily a great team fighting composition, but they do have strong laners, and they probably did pick to win their lanes. Like I was saying, they have to, they pick their best champions so they can win their lanes and get an advantage off of that. It's a really, you know, it's a very, I'd say an old school kind of way of winning. You know, you have nothing to lose. Yeah, you have nothing to lose. Don't pick for the team comp. Pick what you want to pick, your best champion, and make it work.
And actually, Dragon being cleared for FTR, looks like they might want to try to make a play for it. Shinto and Noni are in the Dragon's pit, but no, Lanfear getting silenced, isn't able to hallucinate out of there. Does juke forward, finally falls now. That's JMO picking up a kill, unfortunately at the cost of Rengar split pushing in the top lane with Jinx. It looks like we have a bit of a race. There's Dragon certainly going to go down to FTR, but Kilroy and Ian Please looking like they want to take a tier 2 turret off of this.
I'm not sure that this was worth for Salsa Squad. Again, you know, Dragon is a very important objective, but if your top lane is being pushed in like that, and you can't respond with immediate defense, losing 2 towers for Dragon is not necessarily...
We're going to have an announcement real quick.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Oh, JMO getting caught in a Cataclysm there, forced to Rift Walk away, but another Rift Walk allows him to escape from the team fight. Unfortunately, that is walking going down to Lanfear. Lanfear getting closer and closer to that terrifying Deathfire Grasp and mid-game LeBlanc damage spike on which she is so reliant.
A very, very good flash Tibbers and the Flame Chompers from Salsa Squad there, securing that kill on
Wow,
that
even
Lulu.
diving under the turret. Lanfear is completely undaunted on Mistletoe LeBlanc right now, just really trying to keep up the aggression. And this could be scary. Noni possibly trying to go for a collapse, but backs away.
You know, at this point, I think Noni needs to focus on split pushing. It's really evident that Salsa Squad is very far ahead. So as far as team fighting goes, they're not going to be able to output more damage than them. Which means when that happens, you can't really rely on team fighting. You have
a little
to
bit of a gank again. Corbin and Kilroy catching Noni out on his own. He's snared, throws down Blade of the Exile, going to try to burn Kilroy, but Kilroy's certainly going to escape. Now Noni trying to Valor escape, and they are going to let Noni go.
And we definitely see part of the Riven nerfs coming into play there. Riven, her early damage is definitely nerfed a bit. I don't think much is going to happen off this. Her early game damage was nerfed significantly, and if you look, he doesn't have very many items. Her scaling, I think, is actually a bit better now, but unfortunately, with very little items like he has, and when he's so far behind, he's not really going to output the damage he needs to do to kill Kilroy.
Whoa, Corbin going for another gank onto Noni. Cataclysm is not available quite yet. Lanfear landing a max range ethereal chain, but he gets caught anyways. Here's Shinto coming in with Dragon's Descent, trying to turn it into a team fight, but JMO trying to see if he can protect that Nino and actually succeeds. Kilroy going to take an Ignite to the face. It goes down to JMO, picking up another kill. He is stunned now by Ethel and knocked up as well by the Dragon Spike. Corbin doing what he can, but gets silenced and falls. Now Lanfear going to be forced to retreat away. Now that's 2 deaths, and Impulse catches Ian Please. Barrier being blown. Flame Chomper's doing what it can. Here's Noni coming over the wall for the kill steal, and Dual Impulse is bleeding from the red, but just barely survives.
That was just very bad positioning by Salsa Squad. They were picking a fight that they weren't in a position to actually fight. You know, again, they jumped the gun.
It looks like FTR turning it around just a little bit.
Kilroy put himself in a really bad position.
Wow!
And,
JMO getting absolutely nuked by Ethelon and Lanfear. Was that a Tibbers stun? No, Tibbers was already available, but he was just absolutely locked down by Lanfear.
Yeah, you can't really go face checking rushes like that, especially when you're not full health. And something I want to point out is that Kassadin has not yet completed his Rod of Ages. I don't know how much gold he has. Yeah, he has 60 gold. Ideally, you want to complete Rod of Ages before 15 minutes because it does take 10 minutes to fully stack.
Absolutely. The sooner that Rod of Ages is completed, the better he is going to be in mid-game team fights. But again, the team fight composition is really starting to work out for FTR. He doesn't even have boots yet. He's relying purely on Rift Walk mobility, and wow, a huge dive from Lanfear. He's so far under, but Data Impulse with a wild growth. Corbin picks up the kill with a quick Dragon Slide. Cataclysm locking in Shinto and JMO, but JMO going to escape a Super Mega Death Rocket, taking Shinto to the face. Not going to find Caitlyn as she is already dead, and this is going to be a great dive attempt in the enemy jungle for Salsa Squad.
Yeah. So this is what happens is against a team that FTR has, you can't really go trading 1-for-1 like that. While it may seem like a good idea initially, FTR's team does outscale. I forgot the name once again. FTR. What's the other team? Salsa Squad. FTR does outscale Salsa Squad. You cannot trade 1-for-1 against a team that outscales you. So these are not very good decisions being made by Salsa Squad. And if you look, the gold differential isn't as high as it was before. All these 1-for-1 trades are really helping FTR catch back up. And when Kassadin gets rolling, there's no stopping him. So they need to stop trading 1-for-1 and capitalize on the map control that they have and close out this game before Kassadin becomes unstoppable.
Absolutely, and they are starting to get towards that point. Has completed both a Haunted Guise and finally finished that Rod of Ages. Still no sign of boots. Rift Walk provides plenty of mobility in itself, but you're exactly right. Salsa Squad is doing everything they can to shut down FTR nice and early. That's what we saw with that dive in the enemy jungle, sniping Dual Impulse. And Lanfear, he's starting to fall just a little bit behind. He's at 4-3-2, 120 farm, has not completed his Deathfire Grasp. Once that is done, though, that is really going to be able to shred through his targets. Walking getting dived. Wow, a great Cataclysm. Locking down Shinto. Shinto actually is just going to drag his son away. Ethelon now is the target. Very low health. JMO going to go down. JMO turning now onto Ian Please, who fires and misses the Super Mega Death Rocket. Falls. That's a double kill onto JMO. JMO going to turn in just a moment, but no. A great juke out of Lanfear to get out. Dual Impulse joining the fight using Red Buff. Slow. And wow, Lanfear going down as JMO going to pick up a triple kill. In the meanwhile, Noni engaging on to Kilroy, throwing down the Ignite. Sunfire Cape is completed for Kilroy, but the damage ratio for Riven is so high, especially with that Blade of the Rexall. Picks up the kill with a quick wind slash in the meanwhile. This is a great dragon out of FTR.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why they should not have been trading 1-for-1 kills like that. Kassadin is now unstoppable. There's nothing you can do to really stop him in these team fights. Your only hope is to hope that he gets caught in a Tibbers from Annie and you burst him down there. And something else I want to point out is that now that Riven has more items, while her early game damage was nerfed, her scaling is a lot higher now. So she is going to be able to 1v1 that Rengar up in the top lane, and she is starting to outscale him. This is a very bad spot for Salsa Squad to be in because they had a really good lead. Unfortunately, they tried to capitalize on it in the wrong ways, and it's costing them.
For the Ratchets, certainly in trouble now. Who took game number 1?
For the Ratchets.
For the Ratchets took game number 1. So if Salsa Squad loses this game, they are going to lose the 3rd place match of the Winter Game Fest. So that will be disqualification for them. I don't know the prizes off the top of my head, but I should certainly hope that there is at least something for 4th place.
Kassadin, just off that triple kill. Okay, Kassadin before he had just completed his Rod of Ages. So if I had to guess, I'd say he had around 100 gold left after he completed that. Now he came back with boots and a needlessly large rod.
He's going to be shredding his targets down, an absolute terror. And of course, the Rod of Ages is also continuing to stack up. It is at about 40 health. It's been 4 minutes now, so it's getting closer and closer towards that vital 100 health and mana cap. But in the meanwhile, rushing towards that Spirit Visage. He's trying to get as tanky as possible for his team because Carbon Monoxide, while he's doing a fantastic job of knocking up targets and keeping them down in Cataclysm, there really isn't a lot of peel for Ian Please and Lanfear. They have to rely on their individual skill to keep Shinto's Dragon Descent and JMO's Rift Walk off of them. And
there's a 3.8k gold lead coming in for FTR here. The gold was dead even before.
Whoa, Noni very far forward, gets caught in the ethereal chain, stunned as well. Will she be able to make it over the wall? Ignite going down. Super Mega Death Rocket misses. She flashes into the Baron Pit and is going to escape.
That is going to alleviate some of the pressure on the map. It is going to force Noni to back and heal. Actually, it looks like he's not even going to opt to do that because Salsa Squad is pushing onto mid lane, so he's going to rotate up into that top lane and keep pressuring. But if you look, Lanfear might catch him out right here. This could be very good for Salsa Squad if they're able to capitalize on this.
Yes, it looks like he is trying to go onto, and the camera's now just shifting over. Noni throws down Blade of the Exile, a quick Dragon Slide from Carbon Monoxide, trying to catch up. He's caught now. Uses Broken Wings to make it over the wall. Lanfear following up and picks up the kill with a quick sigil.
That's exactly what I was talking about. He should have just backed. He was very greedy, tried to sustain up off of Golem, and well, now Salsa Squad has an opening to try to push down a tower 5 vs 4.
And it will be up to Salsa Squad to capitalize off of this with Noni gone. There's a large window of opportunity, but Lanfear with the split push, Dragon gone, and no Laves pushing. I don't know what they can do.
Well, they had a few options there, and they didn't capitalize on any of them. The most clear option to me was to get Baron control. Salsa Squad doesn't really have Baron control right now, but with that kill, they could have really pressured the enemy team and swept the vision that the enemy team has around Baron and established their own vision. Instead, they opted to base, which I'm not sure was the right thing to do, because something I pointed out in Game 1 is that a lot of times teams will go for kills, and then after they get the kill, they'll be like, well, now what? A lot of times they'll back as opposed to taking an objective, or a lot of times a team will go for a kill, and then after they get the kill, they'll realize there's no objectives to take. And, you know, in this case...
You're exactly right bringing up the vision of these two teams. We just take a look at the trinkets. There is fantastic vision, and actually, Corbin and Lanfear trying to see if they can start a Baron, potentially pull FTR into a team fight, which is something Salsa needs if they want to try to
fight Baron. Kassadin has 7 kills. He will roll over their team if they are on Baron. You know, Baron does amplify magic damage taken. Kassadin does do a lot of magic damage. They cannot fight in the Baron pit as long as Kassadin is alive. Shyvana, no, they shouldn't even be trying to pressure Baron at this point. Baron is a spot where a lot of teams will throw the game. Right? They should focus on getting picks. Get a pick, then rotate to Baron if you're able to. Don't force it when you can't.
And this is a bit of an interesting rotation out of Salsa Squad. It seems as if all 5 members are suddenly pulling up to defend FTR. And FTR is going to start sieging that turret. They are in a pretty good position. They have a lot of potential to try to do that with Caitlyn's absurd amount of range, Shinto's Dragon's Descent if they want to go for a dive, and even Noni with the follow-up and JMO on Cleanup Crew Kassadin.
And something I want to point out,
They should have a Janitor Kassadin skin. Cleanup Crew Kassadin.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Darth Vader Kassadin. You know, they made Chosen One Master Yi, but never Darth Vader Kassadin.
Of course. Apparently Riot is on the light side of the Force, which is
very biased.
It's a bummer. It really is. Imperial Army all the way. Anyways, talking back to League of Legends, let's take a look at the items for the 2 teams. We have a Bloodthirster and a Static Shiv on both of the AD carries.
That is actually something I was going to point out. Caitlyn, usually when you go for 2 Doran's Blades and Berserker Greaves, that's pretty indicative of you want to push. You really want to push onto the enemy team, and that's what they've been doing. And with the Bloodthirster and Static Shiv build, that solidifies the fact that they want to push. They just want to siege. They don't really want to team fight as much. They just want to get the towers, get the objectives, get a lead, and then snowball from there. So far, I mean, it's really been. It hasn't quite worked out for them. A lot of poor rotations on their part have costed them 2 towers. Especially at the top lane.
Now it's been a few minutes, so most of the wards that Salsa Squad has placed earlier have fallen off. We can see FTR already starting to push further forward as they're clearing the pit around Baron. They're starting to take a look into Salsa Squad's top half of the jungle. Ian, please, clearing out that red buff, definitely going to help keep him alive and get burned. Dual Impulse also with his own red buff.
Then what Caitlyn wants to do here, she does not want to go for Last Whisper. I don't think she should go for Last Whisper, and that's because while almost certainly at least 2 of the enemy team have more than 100 armor, if she gets an Infinity Edge, she will be able to deal with the Blanc diving in. She will be able to deal with Annie. Her team already puts out a lot of damage, so she does not have to necessarily deal with the bruisers herself. And if you want to siege, it's just generally a lot better to go for that Infinity Edge. It does give you more damage. I don't believe armor penetration affects towers
at all. We're about to see a team fight as FTR and Salsa are grouping up around the Baron pit. The poke coming out from Ian, please, is fantastic with those zaps. He's just landing each and every single one, doing a healthy amount of damage. And whoa, Noni coming over the wall, possibly trying to look for a flank. JMO waiting in the Dragon Pit. Kilroy blowing thrill of the hunt to try to catch someone, but that vision unfortunately going to 9 and started getting Shinto going in for the Dragon's Descent, catching Kilroy and Corbin, who manages to get a good Cataclysm down, but Noni falls to a super mega death rocket. Shinto forced to back away. Now JMO trying to see if he can follow up with a kill of his own, but Ian Please and Lanfear sticking together, trying to keep JMO off of them, and Ethlon charging up those extra stuns, but Lanfear picking up a quick kill on Shinto as Ian Please on Ignite, blowing the barrier to try to survive, but Dual Impulse now turning on the Lanfear, and wow, Kilroy leaping over the bush, going to pick up a kill. No, actually, JMO's still alive, and JMO picks up the kill. That's a triple kill on Dual Impulse.
You know, Kilroy, he tunneled very hard on that. He ulted, was ready to go in, stepped on a Caitlyn trap. If he was paying attention, he should have been very aware that there was a Caitlyn trap there and walked around it. That fight would have definitely been a lot different had he not botched his ultimate. Unfortunately, that allowed FTR to have Riven flash over the wall, hit up all of them with Valor, or not Valor, is it? Key Burst. Just put out an insane amount of damage with Shyvana and really allowed JMO and who else was alive at the end of that fight?
It was JMO and Dual Impulse.
JMO and Dual Impulse to just clean up that fight.
And they capitalized very well on that, taking Dragon for themselves as well. There are going to be some very scary items coming out on
JMO completing Death Cap. Something about Kassadin is that Kassadin doesn't necessarily need penetration because he has such high AP ratios. If you have very, very high AP ratios, i.e. Kassadin, Gragas, a lot of times what you can do, instead of opting for penetration, you can opt for more ability power and burst down their squishies when you're really far ahead, as opposed to having to also do some sort of damage to their front line.
And we talked a little bit about the tank composition of these two teams, and it appears that we are having a tank Rengar and Jarvan out of Team Salsa Squad, and only a tank Shyvana, however, for Fear the Ratchet. So it seems that Fear the Ratchet's composition is starting to work out a little bit in their favor as the game goes on.
What's coming into play is, like I said, there's no real synergy between the picks from Salsa Squad. I don't really see how they're supposed to go about team fighting. They kind of have a pick-oriented champion in LeBlanc, but then the rest of their team is more of like hard engage. I know Lanfear plays Lissandra. I would have rather have seen a Lissandra pick. I don't know if Lissandra was banned because I wasn't able to see the bans. But I don't agree with this pick.
Absolutely, and again, this is game 2 between Fear the Ratchet and Salsa Squad. If Salsa Squad takes the loss, then they will be disqualified, so that will be third place going to FTR if FTR can manage to turn it. But we have a very interesting rotation out of FTR. They're all grouped up in the top lane. Shinto getting his Banshees popped by a quick zap, but Corbin Monoxide now trying to engage. Ian Please trying to see if he can make something happen. Dragon's Descent goes down. Ian Please dangerously low, going to try to back away. Doesn't have a lot of CC, actually able to throw down the Flame Choppers and keep Shinto away. Meanwhile, Kilroy trying to leap on the Dual Impulse, but Wild Overgrowth keeping him alive. Now Dual Impulse shredding down his targets with that rev up. Ephelon getting dangerously low and flashes to pick up a quick tilt over Peacemaker to get the double kill.
Very, very cheeky and very well played by Caitlyn, I will say. This game is pretty much over for Salsa Squad at this point. That was a very clear loss in the team fight, a perfect ace. Looks like FTR is going to get Baron off this. There is really nothing that Salsa Squad can do at this point. They're hanging on, hope that maybe a miracle will happen, but at this point the game is 99% over.
It's slowly starting to snowball into FTR's favor. Now, this is Season 4, so there is a high potential for comebacks, but Salsa Squad is just going to have a difficult time. They are even in turrets right now, but down 12,000 gold. I believe they've lost a few dragons and are down 7 kills, and Ephelon catching Hawking out of position, but Hawking escapes.
The thing about comebacks is they only happen when you outscale the enemy team or the enemy team does something extremely stupid. At this point, in order to come back, Salsa Squad doesn't outscale FTR, so they're going to have to rely on FTR to make a mistake and capitalize on that in order to get back in this. While the gold lead, you know, as the game goes on, it starts to matter less and less. FTR has a 12k gold lead over Salsa Squad on top of champions that outscale Salsa Squad. So I'm not really sure what Salsa Squad, you know, they can't really, there's not really much they can do. It's just a ticking, the game's just ticking away. You know, they're just slowly watching
they're doing everything that they can to try to bring the game back. We see they have 3 sweeping lenses, so they're taking more and more control of the map, denying the vision for FTR. So Lanfear definitely capable of getting those picks if he can find someone who just overextends just a little bit. But right now, Lanfear doing such a great job. And actually, no Deathfire Grasp on Lanfear, going instead for a Rabadon's, Athene's, and a Void Staff.
And this was a mistake. LeBlanc is very strong mid-game, but in order to capitalize on her mid-game, you need to get a Deathfire Grasp. A lot of times we saw Lanfear go on the targets and be unable to kill them because he did not get that Deathfire Grasp. He was really focused on playing LeBlanc more as a traditional caster, having mana to clear waves, farm up, but that's not you. LeBlanc is an assassin. You need to get in there, kill a high priority target, and get out.
And now we have FTR pushing forward, looking like they want to try to seize the inhibitor. Stun landing on Jamo, but there's no follow-up. Ian Please clearing the minions instead of trying to go for any sort of poke. And this could be the team fights to end all team fights as Noni is split in the top lane, trying to siege the top inhibitor turret, possibly going to be going for a quick dive.
Look at that.
To the inside.
The poke
is so phenomenal. Kilroy far forward, managing to take a lot of damage. His ace in the hole available. He's very low, but barely managed to survive by the
that
hair
is definitely
of
like
his
sub 50 health.
furry tiger butt. He barely manages to escape, but unfortunately that is going to be FTR taking the inhibitor turret. And whoa! Lanfear jumping onto Shinto. Shinto gets low. Dragon's Descent into a wall, not able to make it out. Lanfear getting out of the fight. Cataclysm from Corbin is unfortunately locking him in. He manages to make it away. No deaths. Of course, also quite yet. Shinto looks like he's about to fall, and he falls. This is now Hawking trying to escape away. Takes a Zac to the back of the head. In the meanwhile, Annie trying to give a little bit of chase. No Talisman of the Ascension on Annie, so she's not quite able to give the speed that she needs. Noni waiting over the wall to try to see if he can get a quick snipe on a member of Salsa.
And this is what I was talking about.
But she's on top of a ward. Corbin turns around, tries to see if he can pick Noni. Noni's low, tries to flash onto Ian, is going to pick up a kill. But unfortunately at the cost of his own life. And now that the death timers are so great, this is a really big window for Salsa Squad to try to turn the game around. They're only about 11,000 gold behind, down from the 12 that they were, and they're starting to take map objectives off of this.
Sure. Don't post anything on my Facebook. This is what I was talking about, is that...
Wow! Dual Impulse got really far forward at the ethereal chains, and wow! Gets a double kill at the cost of his own
Squad
life.
had a free tower there. They should have just taken the tower. Something I was trying to say is that what I was talking about earlier is that the only way Salsa Squad can get back in this is if FTR does something really stupid. They did do something really stupid there. First of all, Shyvana overextended on that siege. They could have just let Caitlyn siege, taking the tower easily, backed off. She went in, got killed. Jamo went in, got killed. Riven,
Jamo catching Kilroy, going to pick up a quick kill.
Riven tried to turn it on a 3 vs 5, got killed. So it was really 5 men up on Salsa Squad to FTR's 2. They could have easily run over mid turret. Unfortunately, they went for a dive, and they didn't get anything off of it. They're going for kills, not objectives. This is not what they need to get back into the game. You don't trade, like I said, you cannot trade kills against a team that outscales you. This is, they had a chance to capitalize on FTR's mistake there, but I'm not sure FTR is going to make another mistake like that.
With FTR taking this dragon, they will further increase their gold lead. It was at 11,000 now, back up to 13. So it is slowly starting to increase once again.
And I think Jamo is going for another death cap.
I certainly hope so. I'd love to see double death cap on Cassidy just for the raw AP
going
scaling.
To get a hat for his hat.
Yeah, double hat. Like Cassiopeia, why does she need boots? That makes no sense. Double hat on Cassidy.
Maybe to keep her hands warm.
Definitely a possibility. Well, next time I see Cassiopeia, I'll ask her.
Well, maybe she throws them at people.
Throwing boots?
Very effective.
Mundo throws axes, briefcases, trophies. Why doesn't Cassiopeia throw boots? Maybe instead of snakes, it's boots that come out of the ground. So it's just
yeah. You know what's something interesting? The Jim Mundo skin. I forgot what it's called, but he doesn't throw dumbbells.
No, what's he throw?
Axes.
Where does he get the axe from? Where are there axes at a gym? Why?
The masochist gym.
Riot, please. He lifts axes. That's what he does.
The S&M gym, apparently.
And we are getting to a little bit of a slow pause in the game as Salsa Squad is going to defend. Baron looks like it's about to respawn in a minute, which could be very scary for Salsa Squad if FTR wants to try to make a team fight happen. So FTR trying to play safe, doing what they can to further increase their gold lead. But again, Salsa Squad playing nice and defensive. They know if they lose this, they will take 4th place.
Yeah, and look at that. And Fear does nothing to Jamo. Jamo has itemized very appropriately, I'll say. Getting those merch reds was definitely a wise choice.
Oh, what a huge crit. Caitlyn finishing her Infinity Edge. That is going to help her out so much in burning down her targets. As it is, again, going to be Carbon Monoxide and Kilroy tanking for Salsa Squad. They don't have too much armor, only a Sunfire on the 2 of them.
Caitlyn is almost a full item up on Jinx at this point. Jinx not having her Infinity Edge, opting for a Guardian Angel. Caitlyn having the Infinity Edge, which costs about 1,000 more than Guardian Angel, and then Spectre's Cowl, which is like 1,400 gold. So he's almost 2,400 gold up on Jinx at this point. You know, these team fights are not...
Noni gets way far forward, trying to go to see throw down a ward, but this immediately picked up by Corbin. With Noni gone, this is a very fantastic opportunity for
Kilroy should be ulting right now.
Trying to get on the walking. He's throwing down, gets knocked away from the Wild Overgrowth, and he's coming in from behind. Oh, Ethereal Chains narrowly missing. Cataclysm locking in, walking, but he does have Wild Overgrowth on himself. Kilroy turning onto Impulse, trying to see if he can shred down that Caitlyn. Caitlyn getting low. Oh man, Kilroy on a trap, going to be given vision of Shinto. AoE trying to pick up the kill. He does. Able to pick up the kill now. Ian turning, trying to shut down Shinto. Shinto just shredding away the Guardian Angel popped on Ian. Ethelon going to fall as well. Ian, please, going to revive in a very angry team of FTR. That is a huge turn for FTR.
That was just poor play coming in from Salsa Squad. Kilroy should have ulted immediately, gone on to Caitlyn with gone on to Caitlyn with LeBlanc, and maybe they could have won that fight. You know, they focused a lot of their damage on Lulu and Shyvana, and you know, it didn't work out for them.
Hawking made it out of that fight alive. Hawking surprisingly tanky with that Mikhail's Talisman of Ascension and Locket of the Iron Solari, so she's going to be able to absorb a lot of health. And with that inhibitor gone, that's going to be fantastic for FTR. They are no longer going to have to worry about any pressure in the bottom lane as those super minions going to push for them. They're going to be free to siege up around Baron and then in the top and mid lanes.
Yeah. You know, Salsa Squad, FTR keeps handing them, you know, little opportunities to kind of make a comeback in this game, and Salsa Squad doesn't really capitalize. They're kind of throwing it away.
They're certainly trying. Randuin's Omen looks like it is on the way for Kilroy to try to help absorb some of the absurd damage that Noni and Dual Impulse are throwing out. But again, with Shinto just diving in, distracting all of Salsa Squad, JMO could just clean up. Noni, despite being caught, still does massive amounts of damage, and Dual Impulse critting for over 1,000. Just doing so great right now. 11-2-8.
Yeah, and you know things are starting to go south when you start seeing defensive items on LeBlanc.
That is going to be a Banshee's Veil finally completed, and ooh, a good play out of Salsa Squad waiting at the Baron Bush. It is completely clear, so they're going to try to get a pick onto a member of FTR.
Very Fnatic style tactic here.
But FTR not going to fall for it. Oh, and Walking going to throw down a ward, gets silenced, caught up by a quick Dragon Slide, and finally falls down. Ian Please picks up the kill with a zap, and with Walking gone, that's going to be a very weak Dual Impulse. There isn't a lot of peel, but Shinto decides he wants to make a fight happen, has Dragon's Descent available, not using it quite yet. Carbon finally getting on the Dual Impulse. Impulse trying to get away, but Corbin going down. Dragon's Descent to escape. Here's Noni jumping into the fight. 1v5 immediately gets nuked down. Cataclysm on the Shinto. He's trying to get to Corbin Monoxide, but gets blocked in a quick Flame Chopper. He isn't able to get the kill. Holy cow, he's actually alive with the Flame Burnout, just bleeding onto 4 members of Salsa Squad. And FTR. 4 members dead of FTR. Salsa Squad is feeling so confident right now.
This is something that happened.
Wow, a huge play out of Dual Impulse, juking over the LeBlanc snare. Possibly going to get a double. No, here's Kilroy. Ace in the hole goes down.
Someone is going
a double
down.
kill.
Good night.
Over Peacemaker, not able to get the kill on Kilroy, and Kilroy retreats to his base. What a turnaround.
This is very frustrating for me to watch. I keep seeing mistakes made all over it. It's, you know,
great play. And wow, the Nexus turrets are going down to super minions. Oh man, Corbin is going to have to defend with Kilroy.
Salsa Squad, they had the 4th one. Why did they keep chasing?
They were very aggressive and almost were able to turn around, but a great play out of Impulse. Impulse doesn't even care about the turret or the inhibitor, goes straight for Kilroy, and is going to turn on the Nexus turret almost certainly, as it is very, very low health. And yes, it falls. Is he going for the Nexus? Is he trying to end the game? Nexus getting a little bit low. He's going to have to juke around Corbin Monoxide. Corbin Monoxide does not have Cataclysm quite yet. He's doing a lot of damage, and the Nexus falls. Kilroy, 1v3. Able to turn a quick double kill into a Nexus.
Yeah, FTR definitely could have closed that out a lot better. They did end up winning the game. So congratulations to FTR for placing 3rd in this tournament. You know, it was a very exciting set of games, I will say.
Very, very fun game. Yeah,
very,
definitely back and forth,
definitely.
left and right. But again, that's game 2 going to FTR. They did win 3rd place, and we are about to go into the finals for the WGF. That's a little exciting, huh?
That's going to be me. You
gotta play?
I'm in the finals.
Ranger,
so.
it's a pleasure. Don't lose. Or lose. I don't know. I'm not the boss of you.
Don't tell me what to do.
So yeah, we will be right back with the grand finals. 15-minute break, 10-minute break, 15? 5:30. 5:30. All right, we'll be right back.